Hi everyone, welcome back to This Book Belongs to Pam. We're in a very different setting right now because I'm running very late and I wasn't able to film this at home. But in this video, I am going to be doing a 24-hour readathon. So I'm going to be reading It Ends With Us. Oops, can't even see. It Ends With Us and It Starts With Us by Colleen Hoover. I need to read this because It Ends With Us expires at I think 11 p.m. tonight. Yeah, 11 p.m. tonight. And the wait for this book is so long that I don't want to put it on hold again. I think the last time I checked that the wait is like 10 weeks long. So I'm not going to put this book on hold again and I need to finish it tonight. So I'm going to be reading that, and then of course I'm going to be reading I think it's a prequel. Is it? It Starts With Us by Colleen Hoover as well. I don't think I'm gonna be reading any more than those two books for this 24-hour readathon because I'm actually headed somewhere for work. I'm gonna show you later. It's an amusement park here in the Philippines. So I will catch you later when I get some reading done. Hi everyone. So I just got back home from work stuff. It is now 10 p.m. and I have read a staggering 8 pages. I'm still trying to finish this within the 24-hour readathon. I think the readathon is gonna end at 1:30 p.m. So that's still quite a good amount of time. I think I can finish it. How many pages is this? It's 381 pages, so it's not that bad. I'm gonna do some reading now and try and get at least to 100 pages in like one sitting. Hi everyone, it is now 1:40 in the morning, so I have around 12 hours left in the readathon and I am only at page 108 of It Ends With Us by Colleen Hoover, and so far my thoughts are, one, it's such a quick read. The main characters are quite typical. Like you have this I'm not like other girls just Lily. So she is a florist, like she owns a flower shop. She used to be in marketing, she now opened up her business, and he meets this guy named Ryle who is a neurosurgeon. So the guy has the makings of every classic romance love interest. He is broody, he is mysterious, he is rich as fuck, he's very handsome, he has a really nice body. There's a lot of mention about his arms, and then there's sort of sub story going on because Lily, our main character, is reading the diary entries from her childhood where she talks about this guy named Atlas. So I don't know much yet about Atlas. I just know that he was homeless in Lily's diary entries, and that he and Lily sort of got to know each other because he started squatting in the house, I think besides Lily's house. So yeah, I don't know how this Atlas guy is gonna fit into everything that's happening in the present storyline. I assume that he's gonna pop out somewhere. So I just realized right now that it's kind of similar to Verity, where you have a main character reading about something that happened in the past or some other sub-story. You know, in Verity, there's this manuscript, and now there's this diary entries, if you will. So it's kind of like the same format or style, if you will. And also, one thing I don't like, that I absolutely hate, is all of the mention of Ellen DeGeneres in this book. Like, why? Why? Is there a significance? Anyways, I'm gonna read some more. I'm gonna stop blabbing and actually start reading. Hi everyone, it is now 5:09 in the morning and I am at part 2, which is page 219 or 59%. I joined Jan Agaton's Patreon reading sprints earlier. I think I got a clip of that. So that was a very productive time for reading. I was able to join, I think, 2.5 sprints, and then we also ate some food because we were very hungry. We didn't really eat properly today. The two storylines already converge, which is funny because when I said in the last clip that I wasn't sure where Atlas from the diary was going to join the picture, he basically like showed up in the next chapter, I think. So far, I can see why there's a lot of pushback on this book. It does talk about a lot of very serious topics, so trigger warnings for abuse, for suicide. Right now, it's really more of just storytelling what happened. So in this book, Lily is reading her diary from when she was 15, 16-year-old, and somehow she sounds exactly the same in both time periods. And then there's a lot of this very cringy like scenes about having the steadiest hands in all of Boston, and that's just kind of a little bit cringy. So that's my update. I'm super tired, as you can probably hear from my voice. So I don't know if this is gonna be my last update for tonight. Maybe I'll update one more time right before I go to sleep. Hi everyone. It is 7 in the morning. Can you even see? Yeah, 7 in the morning, and I just finished It Ends With Us. I don't think I'm in the right like state of mind to be giving like a review, but I wanted to capture my thoughts just as I finished the book. Okay, I think I mentioned in the last clip that I can see why people are divided about this book. So what I'm feeling now after reading this book is that, and I also read like the author's note at the end, the book feels like something that the author needed to write. Like it probably was a cathartic experience for her to write this book. So this is a very sensitive topic that I unfortunately have some first-hand like knowledge of. So I understand why, depending on what your personal experience was, it might affect you in a different way. You, on one hand, you might think that it's trivialized, the whole like it's wrapped in a bow kind of thing, kind of like it cheapens, if you will, the enormity of the situation or the gravity of the situation, because it was really, I mean, everything was wrapped up in the end, if you will. On the other hand, it could also be a way to feel some catharsis, to feel some comfort that things could look up. My very jumbled thoughts right now. So yeah, I will come back to you after a good nap, and I will start reading It Starts With Us by Colleen Hoover. Good night. Hi everyone. As you can see, it's nighttime. And if you've been watching my vlogs long enough, you know that when I have these lights, it's because I'm on a reading sprint with Pam, which I am right now. Here we are. So it's nighttime. It's 7 p.m. 7:11 p.m. And I kind of failed my 24-hour readathon, so I think I'm just gonna turn it into a weekend readathon. I think I mentioned last night or early this morning, I think that was like 7 a.m. that I finished It Ends With Us by Colleen Hoover, and I was a little bit like in a daze when I did that update because I was very tired, kind of sleepy. I don't know if I made much sense, but I think I'm just gonna leave it at that first, and then I'll do a final update of both of the series, a little bit spoilery because I feel like I could express myself more if I did it spoilery than if I didn't. So I'll do that at the end when I also finish It Starts With Us. So It Starts With Us. I started it actually started it last night a little bit, like while I was in bed, sort of waiting for sleep to take over, and now I'm at 35%, which is around, I'm opening my Kindle right now. See, I'm at 35%, which is around, which is page 116, and so far I can sense the difference in terms of intention between It Ends With Us and It Starts With Us. Because It Ends With Us is mostly, was I think supposed to be written as, was I think initially planned to be a standalone, and it really drew from the author's personal experiences. But for It Starts With Us, I read in like I think an author's note before the book even started that this is basically written because the fans loved and adored It Ends With Us and they wanted more of Atlas and Lily, so that's why she wrote this book. So it's really more of a giving back to the fans. Like, it's not, I'm not gonna say that it's fan service, because that usually has like a negative connotation, but it's really more of a way to give back to the fans who have really supported her first book, the first part of the first book in the duology. And I can really sense that in here, because it's reading a lot more like a not, I don't think typical is the word that I want to use, but it's reading a lot more like it was written for the masses, if that makes sense. It was written to be marketed, it was written to be sold, to be marketable, to really entertain the fans of the first book. In terms of the actual contents of the book, I don't have much to say. It's very much reading like a typical romance to me, with you know, the subtext of domestic abuse and the aftermath, or at least being a survivor of domestic abuse. I mean, it still has the same sort of unputdownable quality, which I think Colleen Hoover is really good at. The way she writes, it's not overly complicated, it's not overly flowery, but it's very addictive, and you really just want to keep on reading it. So props to her for that. We're already seeing some foreshadowing of what the conflict is going to be later on. And yeah, so far it's an enjoyable read. It's definitely something that you can just binge read. I've been doing that for a couple of hours now, and I made it to like 100 pages very quickly. So yeah, I hope I finish it tonight so I can do like a proper recap tomorrow morning. I'm gonna go read now during my sprint, and I will update you once I get more substantial reading done. Hi everyone, it is 6:25 in the morning, and I just made my coffee, and this was not what I planned. I planned to like have a proper sit down video or like clip to end this reading vlog, but I just don't want to put off filming the closing of my vlogs anymore, because I always forget and it's always too late whenever I remember. So I'm just gonna do that right now, and you'll just have to deal with my 6:26 a.m. look. Yeah, wait, I need to take a sip of this coffee to fully get myself to wake up and actually talk about this book. First sip of coffee is always one of the best feelings in the world. Okay, so I read It Ends With Us and It Starts With Us by Colleen Hoover. I'm gonna start with a little bit of my overall thoughts, and then I might go into a spoilery final thoughts on the book, so I will let you know when you need to click off if you do not want to be spoiled. So what did I think about the two books? I already shared with you a little bit about my thoughts on It Ends With Us, and I think I rated it 3 stars. That's my gut rating on Goodreads, because honestly I think it was okay. I don't think I think a lot of the pushback surrounding this book is on the how the sensitive topics in this book, which are domestic abuse, a little bit about suicide, and basically just generally just abuse and toxic relationships, how it's I guess portrayed and how it's talked about. I don't really have a big problem about that because of the author's note, which I read after the book. At the end of the book there's an author's note, and Colleen Hoover, the author, was pretty upfront in saying that this book is based on her personal exposure or experience to domestic abuse in her family, specifically her mother. So it's a very personal book for her to write. I think this book was something that she needed to write. I think it gave her a lot of catharsis writing a book about the domestic abuse that she, I guess, witnessed. Given that this book is from her personal experiences, I don't think I want to like judge it too harshly on how everything was portrayed, specifically because there's so much, probably so much more to the picture, and I don't think she meant to like educate, to generalize what abuse might look like for people. On that front, I think it's okay. I think the book did an okay job in telling that story that she wanted to tell. Writing wise, I mean, it's very digestible, very easy to read, very unputdownable. Just want to keep reading it. It's not extreme, like it's not overly flowery. It doesn't it's not super quotable, for in my opinion. It's kind of hard to talk about It Starts With Us without spoiling It Ends With Us. So I think I'm gonna jump over to the spoilery part now. So if you don't want to be spoiled, or if you haven't read it yet and you don't want to know anything about it, please click off now. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I hope you enjoyed this more dedicated reading vlog. I want to try doing more of these so I can sort of give more of my thoughts on the books that I read, and let me know in the comments if you enjoyed that, and I will see you in the next video. Click off now if you don't want to be spoiled. I'm gonna give you like 3 seconds. 3, 2, 1. Okay, so in It Ends With Us, we have this whole thing going on between Lily and Ryle, and Lily's childhood, I guess, romance relationship, which is Atlas. And the only gripe that I really have with this book is that the whole characterization of Ryle as this very rich, very successful, very handsome, very charming, very insert positive thing here, and then he has this dark side. He has anger management issues, he has a temper, and he gaslights and whatnot. That whole characterization felt kind of caricature-y, comical to me, because it's so extremely polar opposites. And I understand that this may actually happen in real life, and it probably does happen in real life, and I'm so upset that it does. But I think when you read about it in books, he's this super rich, like, neurosurgeon and whatnot. It kind of feels like Colleen Hoover is really just setting up this person on like a pedestal, so that when the quote-unquote twist of him being an abuser is revealed later on, you kind of feel that whiplash. But it's just so glaringly obvious that that's what she's doing, I think. I have no idea if this characterization is actually from her personal experience as well, if the abuser in her life or her mother's life is kind of similar to Ryle. But yeah, I think that's the only gripe that I have with this book, because I think it would feel a lot more hard-hitting, a lot more unfortunately relatable, if they were just two people who are kind of more just relatable. Like, you know, you can portray success, you can portray a person with intense ambition and drive without having to go through these extreme lengths of him being the best at everything and whatnot. I think a lot of the issues about this book is really more about how the readers of the book sort of latched onto this story and made it very trivial, in a sense that there are people who are doing like I think there's like Team Atlas and Team Ryle and whatever, and I understand that, you know, of course there are always something that you can say about both sides, but I think that this is the kind of book that you don't really do that. And I think that's where all of the stereotypes, the preconceived notions stem from, because this book is just being sort of treated as this very trivial thing. So yeah, I think if you want to read this book and you have hesitations because of this whole sort of culture around it, or this whole fandom around it, just sort of think of that this book was written out of Colleen Hoover's personal experience, and I think that would greatly increase your appreciation, I guess, because it's not really enjoyable to read because of the topics itself, but I guess it will increase your appreciation of the book. So that is It Ends With Us by Colleen Hoover. Then I immediately read It Starts With Us after that. It picks up right after It Ends With Us, and it's basically just about Atlas and Lily's relationship, how they start their relationship in such, you know, difficult circumstances, with Ryle being Lily's ex-husband, and of course there's this whole situation with Lily having a child with Ryle, so she can't really completely cut off Ryle from her life, because he is the father of her daughter. So that's kind of like the difficult situation, and then it's just you know, sort of confronting Atlas's past, since we don't really get to know much about his story. We only know Atlas from Lily's story. I mean, of course there's like bits and pieces of Atlas in the first book, but in here there's a lot more talk about, you know, his past coming to head with his present life, so, and how he handles that. So that's what this book was about, and I honestly was just so about this book. I definitely preferred the first book over this one, mostly because I can feel as I'm reading the second book that it was truly just written for the fans. Not that it was like super fan serviy, and it was a little bit, but I think it was just the purpose behind the first book and the second book are vastly different. The first book, like I said, felt like something that the author felt like a story that the author really wanted to share or needed to share. This one is more of like a thank you to the fans of the first book, and she admits that this book wasn't really supposed to be written. She didn't really plan to make It Ends With Us a duology, but she was so grateful for the fans for loving her first book that she wanted to offer up this story of Atlas and Lily's, I guess, finding their happiness. So this book read more like a typical romance book. It definitely had a lot of the sort of the jealousy tropes, the whole thing with like a subtext of the abuse that Lily felt through Ryle. It's still heavy-handed in a way that it talks about the aftermath of being an abuse victim, how you kind of have to reprogram a lot of things in your mind on how things work. You kind of have to reprogram how you sort of respond to things because of the trauma that was inflicted on you. So it's heavy-handed in that sense, not so much on the actual abuse part, like the act of abuse, like physical abuse. So this is a much lighter read in that sense, and there's a lot of just Lily and Atlas figuring out their rhythm, figuring out how they can navigate this new thing in their lives. And I do like that Colleen Hoover didn't do the whole third act conflict thing between Atlas and Lily, because honestly, if she did that, I would have hated this book, because there's just too much between Lily and Atlas for it to just come down to the typical misunderstanding, jealousy, whatever tropes that happen in third act conflicts of romance novels. So I'm glad that she didn't go that route, and that it's a lot more about finding closure in the past and just tying loose ends and trying to start fresh between the two of them. So I like that part, but because, like I said, it didn't have the same impact or weight on me as the first book did, I rated this, I think, 2 stars on Goodreads. So it's just really my personal experience. It's just really my personal opinion of the book. And so yeah, that was me reading It Ends With Us and It Starts With Us. I know this was supposed to be a 24-hour readathon, but things happen, so now it's kind of like a weekend vlog of some sort. Let me know if you're interested in me doing more dedicated reading vlogs, because I would love to do them. I would love to be more outspoken about my thoughts on books, because it's kind of hard to share your full thoughts on books if you don't like spoil them. So I was thinking of doing something like this where I have a non-spoilery section and then a spoilery section. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed this one, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!